South Africa filed a lawsuit against Israel at the ICJ, International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. And this is very interesting. This is very new. It has never happened in the past. And it's shaking a lot of people right now. The lawsuit was filed in December, accusing Israel of genocide and war in Gaza and seeking to halt the brutal military assault that has killed more than 23,000 Palestinians, and nearly 10,000 of them were children.
Since the 7th of October, we face extermination, killing, bombing falling over our heads.
South Africa clearly has come forward in a way that it has never done in the past. And the hearing is going to be on the 11th of January, depending on when you watch this video, 2023. The 11th and the 12th. And everybody's ready. It was 87 pages filing by South Africa, says Israel violated the 1948 Genocide Convention, drawn up in the aftermath of World War II and the Holocaust. Holocaust, obviously something that was lived by Israelis, many of them at least. Both Israel and South Africa are signatories of the United Nations Genocide Convention. So basically, many countries came together to sign this convention that said, no more hurting other people for no reason. No more hurting other people for being a group, a tribe, an ethnic group, for being part of one religion or anything like that. So many states signed this convention, and all states that signed this convention are obliged to not commit genocide and also to prevent and punish it. The treaty defined genocide as an act committed with intent to destroy, in all or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. It is called genocide. So South Africa has come forward, acting in a way that many people did not expect. And usually when this type of accusations happen, Israel ignores it. But this time around, they're going to come to fight. Watch.
Of Israel will appear before the International Court of Justice at The Hague to dispel South Africa's absurd blood libel. We have no doubt that after the Jewish state brings to justice the perpetrators of the bloodiest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, history will judge South Africa for abetting the modern heirs of the Nazis.
Whatever reason which Israel chooses to come and fight this time around is going to bring to light many, many things. So the United States National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby has come forward saying last week that the lawsuit was meritless and counterproductive and completely without any basis or fact whatsoever. Is he telling the truth by saying that this lawsuit is baseless, meritless, it's a waste of time, it has no fact whatsoever? Or is he simply being America with his friend Israel? Now, what are the reasons why South Africa will come forward? I mean, South Africa, what does it have in common with Palestine? When you look at Palestine, the first thing that comes to your mind is it's a Muslim country. South Africa is by no way a Muslim country. But what are the reasons? What could be the reason why South Africa has come forward, in spite of many other Muslim countries in the world that could have done the same? Why has South Africa taken up the task of going to the International Court of Justice to accuse Israel of genocide of the Palestinians? Number one, common history. South Africa, as you know, is a country that suffered a colonialism. They were beaten up, they were taken into custody, they were subjected to land reform at the time, meaning they took their lands, they occupied their territories and their ancestral grounds. South Africa has had to fight for many, many years for its freedom. And when you hear it that way, some people clearly can relate to that. And those are Palestinians, feeling that their lands was taken away from them, were being mistreated, were being treated in a way that wasn't appropriate in their own land. And again, the opposition to the apartheid, Nelson Mandela and Yasser Arafat were very good friends. They were seeing each other very much often, discussing the future and probable difficulties. Obviously, when people are living very similar situation, usually negative or difficult, they tend to become very good friends. So they can share their sadness and perhaps encourage each other. Listen to Nelson Mandela here in the 1990s speaking.
We identify with the PLO because just like ourselves, they are fighting for the right of self-determination.
And I will remind you here that in Gaza, in the West Bank, there is a space named Nelson Mandela Square where there is a statue of Nelson Mandela in honor of their relationship. So Palestinians and South Africans, the ANC, the black people, for the most, have been very good friends for the longest time. People who suffer the same faith usually become very good friends in support. Reason number 2 could be the suspicion of the West. Let me just remind you here, fellas, that many years ago when South Africa was still under the apartheid regime, the apartheid regime, for those of you who don't know, is when the white people took over the country. They were ruling over South Africa, and black people had no rights whatsoever. Whites could not be in the same toilet as black. They couldn't share bathrooms. They couldn't share restaurants. They couldn't share schools. They couldn't share many things. And that was the apartheid. Those were the white people that came from Europe and took over the country. So at that time, while the black people of South Africa were fighting for their freedom, hoping to be freed, some European countries were supporting the white people of South Africa. For your knowledge, many African countries were freed or got independence in the 1960s, in the likes of Nigeria, Ghana, Congo, Rwanda, and many other countries. But South Africa only really got free in 1994. Yes, that's many years later. They were still under the shackle of apartheid. At the time when the United Nations was trying to issue sanctions against South Africa that was ruled by white people of apartheid, guess which country used their veto right to stop that from happening? United States of America. Yes, and some other countries. So when black people of South Africa were fighting to try to liberate themselves, trying to free themselves, get some water, get something to eat, get some freedom, the USA was vetoing that from happening. Obviously, when you look at it from that perspective, at the time, there is sympathy from Palestine and people that were very similar situation in Palestine. It's very clear which way they will be going. Even after South Africa was freed, Nelson Mandela issued a statement saying, "We cannot talk about freedom as long as Palestine will not be free." Even after the passing of Mandela, many South Africans feel like it is their duty to fight for the freedom of Palestine because Palestine were with them at that time when they were going through difficult time. So the first reason is colonialism. They've gone through the same things. Second reason is suspicion of the West because they support each other and they feel like Israel is perhaps a little brother of America in the Middle East. Therefore, they have to stand against it. Now, will this produce anything positive? Okay, will this accusation at the ICG bring something to life? Because South Africa wants actually the United Nations to send troops into Gaza to force Israel to stop attacking Palestine, to get Israel accountable for the things that have happened. Send United Nations military, stop Israel from bombing Gaza, and make them pay for the things they have done. Will this bear any solutions? Let's check this. In the past, we know what's happened. We remember that the United States of America at the time was told by the United Nations to stop its sanctions against Iran. They never stopped. We also know that Russia was told by the ICG to stop attacking Ukraine. It never stopped. It didn't work. We know that only 50% of the times the ICG says something, it actually brings some fruit. South Africa also, on its own end, has rejected many of the ICC's requests. South Africa ignored the ruling of the court in 2015 when it was asked to arrest Sudanese Omar Bashir. Bashir came to South Africa. But at the time, the ICC issued a warrant of arrest against him. But South Africa did not arrest him. We also know that in 2023, they issued a warrant of arrest against Vladimir Putin. South Africa ignored it. But then finally Putin decided not to go to South Africa for that meeting. So is this going to bear something positive? Certainly not immediately, because the ruling could take a year or even more. But what lesson do we learn from this? We learned that South Africa has decided to go face to face against Israel and to call upon these countries that have signed this convention against genocide. There are a few countries that are supporting South Africa right now, like Malaysia, Turkey, Jordan, Bolivia, the Maldives, Namibia. Pakistan is supporting. I see Namibia being the only country right now that's supporting openly South Africa. But who are we to blame other African countries? They are very scared. Not just anybody can stand up against USA or Israel. Will this be dangerous for South Africa? Will it be now at the target of the United States and Israel? Only history will tell us. God bless.